Welcome back to another episode of That's Business. Today's guest, Rose Kaz, is a serial boat burner and recovering entrepreneur. Her experience has varied from leading teams internationally as the owner and operator of an all-woman-run production company to living inside the internet as a founder in bootstrap startup mode. Recently, Rose has taken on an executive director role as the leader of a soon-to-open innovation hub. Always the disruptor and here to break patterns, Rose wants to change how we do business because when we do, we change the world. Rose, I'm pumped to have this conversation because you and I are like sisters from another mister when we met. So first, we got to shout out Berhinda Williams for connecting us, of course, the queen herself. Before we dive into this recovering entrepreneurship, and I feel like you're moving 5 million directions at once, throw it back to childhood. Were you always this type of person that was doing all these things, or did you want to be an entrepreneur when you grew up? Like, what was that like?
Oh my gosh. Great question. Shout out to B, shout out to Detroit, shout out to just awesome groups of awesome women, really. You know, there's some cool guys too. Before we get into like Little Rose, I gotta say, I wrote that bio. It's always so weird to hear people read the bio, you know, inevitably that we write for ourselves.
Agreed.
One day someone else will write my bio, maybe just like Chat G.I. Joe. But I have to say, whether we leave this part or we edit it, y'all choose. But I can't say serial boat burner anymore. That is fucked up. We can't say that. And here's why. I figured this out. And I know I wrote that. Boat burners, like entrepreneur, you're like, yeah, I burn boats. Like I just do things. I like get up and I fuck it up, or I do this, whatever. We can get into that in a second. But I came to find out that boat burning is sort of like a colonial vibe of like, we're going to go fuck up their commerce so they can't do anything by burning their boats.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, oh, now while I am here to fuck up the internet, I don't want to break it. I'm just going to buy it back. I don't want to be like a colonial fucker.
No, you're not that person. No.
Yes. I just want to say that because I'm definitely a serial entrepreneur. First time caller on this show, long time, listener to women like you. And I'm so glad that Berhinda connected us because we have so much in common, I think. But first business I started, little 8-year-old Rose. Okay. I went by my full name then. I'm not going to tell you there's a precursor to the Rose, but anyway.
Yes.
Legally, Rose is on my documents. I'm selling Bubblicious bubblegum, y'all, underneath fucking bunk beds, okay? Because I found out that I could like save my $2 a week allowance and go get a couple packs of Bubblicious at 58 cents each. It was the 80s, okay?
Yes.
But I could also buy a 5-pack for $1.50. And it was like, well, do the math. Like, why would I not buy a 5-pack? And then it was like, well, because you don't have self-control, Rose. You'll eat all of it at once. And I was like, no, I will sell it on the playground. So that's what I did. And on some of my earnings, I then bought a little safe from my neighbor at her garage sale. So then I had like a whole kit with like my singles and my fives. My bills were faced. Inventory was stocked by flavor. And my mom, check this out. She finds this little safe. I remember this little red Stanley safe, little thing. Hello Key, right? You remember diaries with the key, right? Some kids had that.
Yes.
No, I had a fucking Stanley safe for my business. And my mom is like, what is this? And I was like, oh, it's my business. And she's like, I'm sorry, you're my child. You're my business. And I was like, no, like it's my business. Not like it's my business.
Like,
she's
don't
like,
worry about it, right?
Yeah. She's like, what the fuck is this? Seriously, where did you get this money? And I was like, I sold bubblegum. I made it myself. She's like, okay. Really? I'm like, yes. Now give it back to me. And she's like, I get 10%.
That's right, Mom. Already teaching you the art of negotiation, right?
Right. So it's been a long time that I've had these ridiculous skills and thrills of the Rosie life.
8 years old. That's crazy. And even thinking about that idea, because what kid would think of that? It's more of like, oh yeah, you have no self-control. I have money. Like, let's go spend it and get all the Bubblicious for yourself. So that's incredible. So we go through, we're an entrepreneur at 8 years old. What were you like kind of leading up to high school? Would you end up deciding you wanted to do like post high school and what you wanted to be when you air quote grew up?
Well, I did that thing in high school where like I got cool or I thought I got cool or something.
Yeah.
And then I like had the sex. So then I had like the boyfriend and was like, oh my God, I'm going to do whatever he's doing, which is like never the answer ever. I was confused. I was hormoning. I was being a teenager. I was like, And thankfully, some smart scientist, literally this weird old scientist dude that would always come into Starbucks because now it's the 90s, right? Like Reality Bites. Like I had to work as a barista. Hello. And this guy came in and like popped this book, this college catalog for this like really weird liberal arts school. And I was like, no, I'm going to like Southern Illinois with my boyfriend. And he was like, to study what? And I was like, I don't know.
Whatever he's studying.
You know, and he was like already a senior. I was a sophomore. I mean, I was just like a little twat, you know? I mean, I was like 15. I didn't know shit about anything, right? And I'm so glad that guy did that because it made me really understand that I have potential besides like what this dude I'm dating might be doing, you know? And not to say that like my mom, I come from generation, like a 3-generation home, like where I live with my granny and my grandma and my mom, all strong women. And for sure instilled this in me. But, you know, when you're a teenager, like what your parents say, what your family says is like stupid or whatever. And so I just was really grateful that this like random super nerd angel like dropped by this cool catalog. And I started looking more at science in a different way and started looking more at just being more of a curious learner than I think high school was like kind of training me to be. So then started applying for like big fancy schools, got some scholarships. And that I have to point out as a business owner, and I didn't know that at the time, right? But now, like 20 years forward, looking back and going, shit, I'm so glad that happened because then the guidance counselor was like, oh yeah, you could get a scholarship. Like you know, like your mom's income and your this, that, and the other. So girl, I ended up getting like all these scholarships. I wrote for like Rotary Club and I wrote for, you know, the like, Daughters of the Jewish, like whatever. Like there was all these little things that I was like, okay. And so fast forward the tape, my business right now is based on the fact that there are resources everywhere. And half the time, nobody tells us. So I'm very grateful for the little kismet experiences that completely rerouted my life.
No, that's so interesting to say because I remember my mom slapped down a giant book of scholarships because the internet was a thing. Yes, what in my timeline, but it was more, here's a book of all the scholarships you can go after, go for it. And I was privileged, like parents did have a college fund set aside for me, but they're like, your ass is applying to as many as you can get and use your network. So funny enough, I went to Penn State and Penn State has the largest alumni network in the world. So the second highest chapter outside of Pennsylvania is in Michigan.
Whoa.
So I got a good bit of scholarship and I was not like, I'm not a 4.0 student. I'm like a 3.5 sport playing in 5 million different clubs student, but they didn't care. And that was like so ingrained in me of like, you have to be a 4.0, you have to be like this perfect kid on paper. And that shit was not me. Okay. So I love what you bring that up. And that's a great tie-in to what you're doing today, because I think outside of being in the entrepreneur route, and I think I just talked about this on a podcast, I talk a lot, the network of bringing people together. I mean, how I met you, if I didn't get fired from my job, if I didn't meet my friend at a networking group, if I didn't meet her to take me to Bamboo, if I didn't meet Berhinda at Bamboo and we didn't do coaching, then I would have never met you. And it's just like this beautiful family tree of resources. Mm-hmm. So you could be someone that's like, well, screw that. The resources are for me. But what has made you be this person that's like, shit, everyone needs to know about these resources, and how that led you on the journey to entrepreneurship?
Yeah. Well, I think definitely Bubblicious is always going to be part of that journey to entrepreneurship. You know, it's sort of just like inside the DNA. My grandma wearing shoulder pads and my mother, you know, just how I came up. But also, I think, you know, that part of, I didn't think I would be able to be as academically successful as I was. I didn't think I'd be able to go to school out of state because of my financial background. My family's not even mine. Like, what the hell? Like, granted, that year I turned 18, I did get 3 credit cards because America. But before that, I like, you know, maybe like a savings account, which, you know, interestingly enough, I only recently learned that women could only get after 1978. So even as a, you know, a young millennial, I didn't even realize all of the different resources, privilege, and nature of like my experience that partially were definitely on purpose, and a lot more were just fucking accidental or the result of like some shit that went sideways. And so I ended up transferring. I got almost a full ride to this one college. I transferred to this other college. I loved the community I found at Warren Wilson. And then through that school and the ability to like really foster community and care, I began to understand even more. It's like when you learn something, particularly when you learn about something that's like fucked up. Let's go with just something basic like the pay gap. Like a man makes $1, a woman makes like 80 cents. But if you're a Black woman or a Latina woman or whatever, if you're a Asian American woman, you make even less and less and less. To me, that is extremely fucked up, right? And once I learned that, I was like, oh, hell no, right? And I can give you at least 25 other examples of that, but I'm sure you have your own, and it's to our listeners, right? But once I learned something like that, I'm like, we can do better. And so there's this creative part of my brain that is like solution oriented. There's this entrepreneurial like processes part of my brain that is like, and here's how. And so what I'm doing right now, my startup, which I will tell you, after having 2 other successful businesses, and I'm not counting the Bubblicious one. We could count that if we wanted.
It does
but like,
count, yes.
I mean, I guess I did not pay taxes on it, okay?
Sure.
Oops. Can you even still get that much Bubblicious without going to Costco?
I don't think so, unless there's a convenience store that holds it. But no, I don't think so.
I haven't chewed gum like that for like, I maybe we'll have like a Wrigley spearmint now and again when I'm, really feeling zesty. Anyway, having 2 like actual adult businesses that were successful and my production company being the latter during lockdown was like, oh, okay, COVID times, like what the hell's going on, right? Like, what are we doing here? Being a solution-oriented entrepreneur who's creative as hell was like, okay, okay. I've been always wanting about these resources. And you can think about, right? Like, man, Angela, what were you doing during COVID lockdown? Were you like, where are my resources at?
Gosh, I got fired September of 19. So I took my business full time, was working odd-end jobs for friends and family. And it was actually December of 19 where I was able to quit the other side gigs and take myself full time.
Okay.
Pandemic hits and I'm living by myself. I got a dog in May because I was like, oh my God, I can't live by myself. Like I never have. I don't like it. I need some type of companion.
May 2020?
Yep, May of 2020. And then I was actually pretty busy and figuring it out, like I was working off a freaking Excel sheet for my CRM. Like my customer management system was off a Google sheet. And I remember just sitting there like working 15-hour days, trying to figure out this whole rescue dog situation. When the first round of people got laid off in April. And that's when the whole like fucked up layoff started happening when people logged in were like, you have no access. So yeah, it was trying to like be like, what the fuck am I going to do? Or what am I doing? I don't know how to run a business and I can't go run to the resources around me because I'm by myself at home. So
right. And so I think that's an experience that pandemic or not, we find ourselves in as business people. Like I need to know how to do this thing, but sometimes I don't know what I don't know until I'm suddenly like, oh shit, this Excel sheet doesn't work anymore. What the hell is a CRM and how do I use it? Right. And during COVID, I felt like because I'd already had 2 successful businesses and I kind of knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, but this was not it. And I didn't know what a pandemic, I don't know. Come on, I'm a millennial. I've already lived through some shit. Recession.
We don't need more shit.
Pandemic? Like, what the hell? I don't know. And so I just started putting on that solutions brain and I was like, wait a second. I have this book of rad women from all around the world that I have been either working with my production company, or if I wasn't working on a project with them, I'd be like, yo, Angela, Brenda, I'm coming through Detroit. You want to do a quick panel? Let's have a conversation because like, shit, my business is driving me crazy about this thing. And I can't figure it out. What about you? And then you'd be like, oh, I love talking about that. So I started to do these kind of conversations even before COVID. And then during COVID, I was like, well, shit, I can't even do those. Like, I can't even do the thing that like I really liked about my job, which was basically my funnel. It was like an awesome way to do a genuine connection event that like I got more really amazing women clients from. So COVID, I'm going, shit, okay, what's the SBA got for me? Oh, wait, hey, did you know, by the way, Angela, SBA's got this going on. Oh shit, no kidding. Thanks, Rose. Hey, by the way, they also have this grant. And I became this sort of like directory for my friends, right? And then I thought, okay, I'm going to do these conversations on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Well, very quickly, and in fact, our friend Berhenda experienced this. She'll tell you. In fact, I want to ask her if she still got that email because I think it should go in the baby book for this business. Because as I'm trying to be on the line on a Facebook Live to talk about money, and that at the time, Berhenda was doing all that work with Power of Girlhood, right? Making sure that young Black and brown women have what they need to get on to the next level of their lives, right? Well, Berhenda receives this note from Zuckerberg and friends that Berhenda's Facebook account, her Meta account, is suspended for at least 2 weeks, and they'd let her know when she could have it back because she's a person of, air quotes, suspect. And she's texting me this, and I'm like, what the hell? What the hell? And meanwhile, right, we're still like, we're in COVID lockdown moments, and all we can do is connect with people online.
Right.
And Meta and Zuckerbergs are telling Berhenda Williams, who is a God bless saint in my book and should be, definitely there needs to be a Brenda sculpture in Detroit.
Absolutely.
Prehumously, like while she's alive. Okay. And she's a person, a suspect. I am so pissed. And I'm like, it's crystal clear. I was like, you know what, B, that's fine. We'll get you logged in. But now I know what I need to do. I need to build the digital thing so we can have these conversations. So these fuckboys can't tell us that we're not allowed to talk about important things like money, sex, and politics. Because, see, I get so passionate about this. And this is how I know that regardless of how many times I will fire myself or quit or potentially, I'm not done with this. It's so important. And so I have been building the safest place on the internet for women and our friends for the last 5 years.
Absolutely. You have.
And I feel like it's now more time. Now I'm like, damn it, I was early again.
You were. And I think that's interesting, too, because when we talked on your show, Money, Sex, and Politics, which you needed to include in your bio, too, that we're going to include a link to so all of you could go listen and watch it. It's amazing. Talking about just like the resources or the connectivity or just like relying on other people. And I think especially as women, and I have plenty of men that have this issue, too, but feeling like you're taking up too much space or feeling like, oh, well, I don't want to bother someone, or, oh, I don't want to bother you to ask you for help with my event or help with this. But even just kind of going to a resources page and providing that for people. I mean, I want you to tell it because this is one of your babies and I'm stealing that for the baby book. That's genius. And every business owner should have a freaking baby book. That's awesome. But What does this look like? So tell us the name of it and what you're doing for it.
The name for the baby book or the name for the platform?
The platform, sorry. Or the baby book, too. We could, if you got a name for that, too. Sure. There's no rules.
No, but I will shout out to this super cool woman I know in Florida who throws business showers. Yeah. Yes. We need to do that on the regs. We really need to do that. Because it's like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? Because maybe I'm not going to get the toasters from my wedding shower. I'll buy the damn thing myself.
Funny enough, my mother has said this for years because her very best friend who will be on the podcast chose not to be married, chose not to have kids. And she has this badass business. And she said how bullshit it is that her bestie Carol had to go to all the wedding showers, the baby showers, and she didn't get jack shit because she didn't do like the milestone thing. So I totally agree. Anne Marie was onto something too.
Just write me a check for $2,000. It's fine. You would have spent that on your stupid dress that you didn't like anyway, and the gift.
I'm feeling triggered right now. Yep.
Totes. Okay, so the model, the hub is called LBI Digital. Okay, and this is a resource directory, and we've kind of revamped it a little bit. Right now, I'm focusing on switching up a little bit to be more communication forward. Exhibit Facebook again, like, oh, you need to message your mom about a healthcare situation, and then Facebook tattles on you because you had to go to a doctor and have a medical procedure, and then Facebook tattles on you. Like, we can't be having that, boys. Like, and by the way, side note, which I also like to say, side boob. I think that's probably good here in this. Like, yes. Facebook was actually founded, right, by Zuckerberg and a number of other people. I'm sad to find out that one of the partners is Lady Gaga's husband, boyfriend, man.
Really?
I know. She loves him a lot, and he must be really good. But I'm mad because he may have been one of the dudes around the room that was like, yeah, man, we should just, like, create this kind of platform, right? Like, where our friends can, like, we can, like, look at hot chicks and we can, like, judge them. That, I kid you not, is why Facebook or how Facebook was. I cannot confirm or deny if Lady Gaga's current sweetheart man.
We'll say no.
Let's say no because he's real cute and real nice and real good to her.
Yeah.
But we know Fuckerberg was there. And so just think about that when you use the meta products because the foundation of that shit is wretched. Okay?
Yep.
Moving on. I am building the space where we can be able to message each other. We could share information around resources for our businesses. So talk about money. We're talking about grants. We're talking about groups like Stella Foundation, which is an amazing group of venture capitalists who are women and who are looking at business in a different way because they're investing in other women, right? We're talking about different ways to crowdsource and get grants, not as much loans and bigger like debt packages for your business. We're just thinking about how we can be creative and use our resources we have because there are plenty contrary to what it says in the news, just who has the keys. I've also built out a little e-commerce area of the platform. And so people like Angela can have a little kiosk and be like, you want to come through and get your little resume kicked up a little notch and make a big resume? Holler. You know, people like Brenda have people stopping by her kiosk to register and be part of her business training programs. So we've got this sort of building ecosystem back there that's based on the alignment of values shared around resources, money, sex, and politics. Now, we don't get political on here in the sense that like somebody could say like, well, look at Truth Social. That's a little like, is that where you're going to go with this? Right. Because you can get even people who are progressive and liberal can get so wild about their ideas that they can sound just as
absolutely
wild about their ideas as some other people. Right. I firmly believe, and I imagine, Angela, you have some head nodding with this, is like being alive in this world is political right now. Being a woman in this world is political right now. Being a dark-skinned woman is very political in this time. I have light skin. I am a Spanish Jew with Sicilian roots, so that means I'm very fiery. And also, like, I'm a fucking Care Bear. So, like, I'm not really into war. And I think the whole thing of, like, the conflict is icky. But I also know that people don't often want to talk about that when they're trying to focus on this, that, or the other. Like LinkedIn isn't the space that's super politicized, ideally, right? Because people are trying to work. At the same time, I think it's important that like we have hard conversations and we have space for it, but that like the digital platform itself serves to be something when you go there, you feel more inspired when you leave. Sometimes we go on the internet and it's like, man, that just sucked my soul. Or I don't even know why I just doom scrolled for 2 hours. What the hell did I just do with my life? Or why did I just go like down the rabbit hole on Reddit about the, whatever it is. And my goal with this space in revamping it in this relaunch is that essentially you go in there as the person participating in data sharing, right? Because that's what the internet is. It's data sharing.
Yep.
But you go in there like, this is the data I have. This is the thing I want to get, right? You are completely aware of what you're going to get, and that is what you get. I'm not going to get too in the weeds on like the technical components of like when we go around the internet and like what cookies are. Just side boob. Cookies on the internet are not good, okay? They should just call them like boulders or turds or cobwebs. I don't know, something that's like not cute. But cookies, it's just I'll get into the digital weeds if I try to talk about it.
What's it called? The worms that like a parasite,
Yeah, like a centipede. Like, do you want centipedes? Fuck no.
No.
But they're like, do you want cookies? You're like, oh yeah, I want cookies.
I love some cookies.
Basically, like the platform at a basic level is connecting more women to resources, but also because I'm a technical nerd and I'm not really into the way that the current version of the internet works, I want to make sure that it's super fucking safe. And the last thing I'll say on this is in the earlier iterations of launching this thing 2 or 3 years ago, I was pitching, right? And for those like startup founders or business people who know what pitching is, right? It's kind of nerve-wracking and annoying. For those of you who don't, you create this whole slide deck of like, what is the problem you're solving and who cares about it anyways? And what's the viable product and like how much money you're going to make and how much can you scale it? And I'm trying to like iron this shit out so I can say exactly what I'm doing, right? And basically what I'm solving for is that the internet's sketchy as fuck. And it's especially sketchy for women, right? Like, I don't need any more dick pics. Thank you very much. I also don't need them on LinkedIn. I also don't, whatever. We all probably have our list. And everybody I'm pitching to is a dude, right? And they're like, what's wrong with the internet? What's wrong with the internet? And I'm like, do I literally have to give you examples? Like, do I have to have a slide of like, what's wrong with the internet? So just a long story short, it's a simple concept, but it has not been easy to make. And it has not been easy to get into the right hands of the right people who aren't like, it's interesting, but I don't know if I like your font choice. I'm like,
yep, because those are the issues we have to solve right now, right? No, and it is interesting because I will say I have a great group of guy friends, partners, lovely, but they don't truly understand. And they've asked me questions wide-eyed. They're like, what do you mean you got hit on LinkedIn? I'm like, oh, yeah. It's like it was, knock on wood, and I don't even want to say it's been a long time because it's going to happen. But, oh, yeah, I would get them like quarterly of some wildly inappropriate message. They're like, you're minding your own business, though. And then I'm like, exactly. They're like, but you post pictures of your boyfriend, partner on LinkedIn. I go, uh-huh. And showing the messages, and I think it's just eye-opening, and I think it's a matter of the type of personality of men that are allies and see the issues and like, what the fuck? Like, that's bullshit. And if that was my sister, they're doing this to you, like they get fired up about it because that's going to be what changes it. Or you and I are ones to fight back and rip people new ones and say, why the fuck did you think this was appropriate? But how many people are not saying that because they feel uncomfortable or they're just like, oh my God, not again, not again. And how often this does happen in corporate and this still does happen. So it's just insane. It's an insane world. And I love what you're doing because it needs to happen.
Yeah.
Continue to happen, I should say. Evolve.
Yeah. Well, and that's the interesting thing. And cadence of like us, I'd say just generally people in business, but most specifically I can speak from a woman's experience who's consistently thought she's like 26 years old for the last 20 years. And I'm just like, what the fuck? How am I like now in my 40s? I don't get it. But that the ability to practice leaning into our resiliency is like our fucking superpower, right? And I say that having face planted so many times, right? Like sometimes I trip over my own damn feet. Sometimes I trip over some dude's foot. Sometimes I trip over, nothing, like was nothing there, right? But each of those times has given me really great insight. And I'd multiple times in the build of this digital space, I've been like, man, this isn't working, or I did that so wrong, or what the fuck. But I will tell you, Angela, in the last 2 weeks alone, the conversations, much like the one we had on the podcast, Money, Sex, Politics, the ones I'm sitting interviewing here at the University of Oregon for their MBA program. We'll see, I like resources. What can I say? I like learning. We'll see what their offer is as far as how much I'm not paying for this late stage capitalism MBA. But it's like nothing I've done has been for naught, right? Like everything, even the shit that's bullshit, has been super helpful. Now it's sunny today. I look cute.
You always look cute.
Well, thank you. But sometimes like I feel like these are lessons like when one is feeling good about themselves, it's easy to be like, yeah, like I made it through. But sometimes when you're in the middle of that shit, it's like, why am I even doing this? This is not serving me, that nobody cares. Sometimes it's just fucking timing too,
It is such timing. Because if you asked me in December if I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I would have told you, fuck no, don't do it. It's horrible. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't imagine anything else. What are you talking about? As we're in April. So It's with waves. I totally feel that. Preaching to the choir on that.
Yeah.
So as we wrap this up, because you've been absolutely incredible, we have all your links down below and all, but what advice do you have for listeners?
Yes. Okay. So here's the thing. I was alluding to this a little bit just a second ago, saying like, just kind of keep going. Right. And I do not mean that with like toxic positivity. Just like, you're just fine. Just everything's fine. Like, no, fuck that.
Just do it.
Yeah, no, definitely like flip out and like get mad and then be prepared to maybe say sorry to people if you want. I don't know. Sometimes I say sorry. Sometimes I'm like, they're dead to me.
Fuck it.
But the other thing is, if there's a hard way to do something, I will find it. Okay. Like if there's a long route, I will take it. I don't like this about myself. It's just how I am. Right. So I've learned how to accept my superpowers and some of the things that are like not so super. And I invite everybody to try that a little bit, because I think when we build that grace into ourselves, we make more grace for other people. And, the startup journey, the building this platform has been extra fucking challenging. I've evolved my consultancy along with it so that I can continue to eat more than just ramen. But turns out ramen with like 140% tariffs is going to be expensive too.
Nope.
Yeah. So, but the other thing is like, I really enjoy working with entrepreneurs that are like, man, I get this, but what the fuck about this? Or someone who's like trying to take their, like you were saying, like you got fired and you were like, what the hell? And like, I don't know, I'm doing good at this, but am I really doing this? Like those moments of like, I'm doing the thing, but I'm not yet doing it at the highest capacity. I feel like because I've been in that eddy a bunch of different times in different iterations of myself as a businesswoman, but in my businesses too. Now my consultancy, where I'm focusing on AI and focusing on technology, is actually like, it's really inspiring me. And it's inspiring to me to see clients, particularly women, right? Because like, if we just look at like, oh, I don't fuck with that because like, I was like, I don't know, like, what is the robot's going to take my job? Or like, that's making it harder. I'll just let it write my emails, but nothing else. Keep in mind, y'all, that emails, like in the early 90s, people were like, emails? What the hell?
Crazy.
That's nuts.
Netflix, crazy. No one's going to do that.
Yeah, like who needs to build their own website, right? So just think about your ability to give yourself opportunity to expand and give yourself grace and give others grace, but like try something that you don't think you should try. And I think particularly around technology, because you know what? A hammer used to be technology, okay? A nail file was considered technology. So like technology is just a way to do something, and we have to be better at utilizing it as women, especially because otherwise it's going to use us.
Amen, sister. Rose, you've been incredible. This exceeded every expectation. I knew you were going to be great, but damn, are you good. So those of you listening, if you want to follow Rose, head to the show notes and tune in again next week for another episode of That's Business.
If you're looking for a career change and you're not sure where to start, the Resume Rescue can help. Sure, there's no such thing as the perfect fit for everyone, but here at the Resume Rescue, we're on a mission to find the perfect solution for you. Whether it's changing careers, updating a resume, learning LinkedIn, or practicing interviewing, we have you covered. Find us online at theresumerescue.com and find all of our contact info in our show notes.